The global market for household items, whether it's appliances or furniture, is a booming market. But here in India, it's still very niche. Companies like RentoMojo, though, are attempting to change the way Indians are stocking up and are buying things for the home and are renting things for the home. In fact, I caught up with Geetansh Bamania to really understand how they're an innovator and disruptor in this space. Listen in. Geetansh, thanks very much for coming here on the Leaders of Tomorrow, coming down to our studios to really talk about what you do at RentoMojo.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
Let's start by talking about your journey as an entrepreneur, where that really began, where the idea for being in the kind of industry that you're in, doing the kind of business that you are doing, really come about.
Sure. So, I've been in the ecosystem for about, just about less than a decade. I was working with Flipkart back in 2011. Post I graduated from IIT, I was with KPMG for a very brief period, then Flipkart, then I did 2 of my ventures, but, eventually I landed onto this company called, which was selling furniture, which was a large furniture selling company.
Sure.
Online, right? So, and company called, which was selling furniture, which was a large furniture selling company.
Sure.
Online, right? So, and I remember, because I've moved from between different cities, Chennai, Bombay, Bangalore, Delhi. So when it came down to furnishing my own apartment, I didn't choose my own solution, which was at that company. I was selling, we were doing good business. Selling to a bunch of consumers all over India, but when it came down to myself, I didn't go for that solution. I ended up renting it out from a local guy. So, when I identified the economics between, that lease proposition or the rental proposition vis-a-vis an outright, I just thought this really makes sense. Because I remember I was able to, furnish my entire apartment for about 1,500 a month. And I remember a peculiar wardrobe, which I had, which was, incidentally one of the best selling at the company that I was working in as well. And when I looked at the economics, if I would have bought from that, company, I would have paid around 10,000 rupees. Whereas I was paying only 500 rupees a month to possibly lease it out.
Sure.
So that was a good 20 months, 24 months payback period for me, right? So from a consumer standpoint, it was really amazing.
I will talk in depth about, what the business model is like, and to sort of break it down for viewers about, the different verticals, if I can call it that, that you're looking at. But I want to understand your inspiration as an entrepreneur. That's what I'm trying to get at. For our viewers who are perhaps contemplating starting a business in a particular industry, at what point, yes, the economics were there, but you were pretty much entering an industry that was so nascent. You were going to start this business in an industry that pretty much didn't exist when you started it out.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand what made you understand that, yes, I'm going to make money in this industry.
Money has never been a driver or inspiration for, I've pretty much been the problem solver, right? So I was in a cushy job and I left that to start 2 of my ventures prior to this.
Okay.
And this was, in fact, one of those moves again. The biggest driver for me has been to always, think of a very innovative way to solve a very niche problem. And that has been the biggest driver, to create something very, very innovative that doesn't exist anywhere in the globe. So our service, whatever we have become, it doesn't exist right now. Lease as a proposition or market, as you rightly said, was not existing back then. So, what has really drove us and the team for the past 4 years is we're creating this market. Very frankly, India, we have not seen a lot of market creations. We have pretty much seen market adoptions.
Absolutely.
So market creation is a very different theory, and that's what really, is the encouraging and is the one factor that is driving us.
Sure. So let's talk then in depth about your business model. You started as an online leasing company for furniture, but now you are moving to, gadgets, including high-end phones. I noticed that you've recently announced a tie-up with IKEA. Which is perhaps also where the market is headed. So just talk to us about, where you're seeing your most revenue coming from, what sort of the future pipeline is looking at in terms of what verticals you want to be in.
But the rental proposition, we never saw a huge market. Rental has always been a short-term phenomena, a very short-term offering that, precisely for the people who are migrating in nature and so on and so forth, they pretty much want the piece of product for about 3 to 4 months. Whereas, to tell you for a fact, in our business, what we were seeing was people were renting it out for 18 to 24 months. And that's not typically rental. Nobody has heard of 24 months rental. So that really differentiated, and we started looking ourselves more as a leasing infrastructure. The moment we started looking ourselves from a leasing standpoint as an alternative to outright purchase or EMI, we thought, why just offer it on furniture and appliances? Let's look for categories which has a great, where we have a great comfort with respect to some sort of residual value that we can create after 3 years or 4 years.
Sure.
Not just that, we took this proposition to a bunch of point of sales as well. Like other players where a consumer is coming with the intent of purchase. Till now, he used to have an option of outright purchase or an EMI, which is solving for the affordability part of the retail transaction. But even if you take something on an EMI, let's say for a 12-month period, it's not that 6 months down the line you can say, take the products back, I'm not going to pay you anymore.
Okay.
But typically the life of the millennial is like that. That uncertainty is always there, right? So our proposition comes very handy to them. That you can first start using the product with the option and the power in your hands to decide when to own or return.
Sure.
So that's what the service that we have become. We have pretty much come up with this term called RMI, just to syndicate, which is rental monthly installment.
Sure.
Which is pretty much, giving you the same characteristics of a EMI, which is making the product which is a lot more affordable.
So you were just saying millennials, and I want to pick up on that and talk about the fact that you're present in 8 cities right now in India. Statistics show that the economic survey of 2017 showed that between 2011 and 2016, we had 9 million people who moved into cities.
Right.
And for subscription-based services, this is typically the sort of base you're looking at. But for someone who's watching this interview, what would you like to tell them about what is the target base? Is there a market outside of, the metros, for instance, that you're present in?
We pretty much, a bunch of consumers that we have can easily, they have enough disposable income to buy most of the products that we're giving it out on lease today. So it's not just the migration crowd or the crowd which can't afford our consumers. It's anybody who's looking, who's going into a point of sale with the intent of making a purchase.
Sure.
And needs a more flexible option. We are addressing that market, and that pretty much becomes a very large portion of the addressable market in the categories that we are present in. I mean, today in the categories that we are present in, the actual retail is about, more than $100 billion, combined, offline and online combined. Out of that, $32 billion is actually coming in the consumer lending for it. Now, we will slowly and gradually create a portion of ourselves. We're not so much in the fight with EMI, we're rather converting a lot of people from outright purchase to this.
Sure.
So rather than just paying the 90,000 and getting stuck with the product and dealing with the hassles of maintenance, relocation, a bunch of hassles that comes with it, you get an option to start using the product at a very monthly, low affordable rental. So that's the proposition, and we're looking to take away a certain portion of the overall retail in the next 5 years. That's the market we're creating.
Okay.
Not
is there a size you
it.
can put on that market?
I can very easily see $8 to $9 billion addressable market.
Okay.
And this is the market that folks with this kind of a vision, or if more and more people, if they come into the bandwagon and they understand what we are trying to create, I think together we'll be able to create a good $8 to $9 billion of market by 2023.
That's the addressable market.
Yeah.
And what's sort of portion of that do you see yourself targeting in that time frame?
Yeah, if very frankly, if 2 or 3 people are going to be there who are creating it, I mean, we look to create a good $3 to $4 billion, in terms of our own asset base.
Sure.
By then. Okay. So that's what we're looking at in the next 3 years.
I'm also trying to understand that outside of the metros, basically,
right.
And for any product to scale in India, you have to look at tier 3, tier 4 also possibly. Sure. Is that going to be an addressable market as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, frankly, I mean, in the cities that we are in, that itself is 70% of the retail.
Okay.
But slowly and gradually, I don't see a reason why we're not going to be going into the cities where, where a consumer is coming with the intent of purchase. I mean, we have retail stores and retail chains addressing that market as well.
Sure.
Since we see ourselves as a portion of retail, not a competition to retail, or rather a catalyzer, we'll of course be present wherever the retail is. Slowly and gradually we'll go, much more deep into the cities.
Let's also quickly talk about the fact that your industry would in some sense come under Digital India as well as, the e-commerce space, at least as far as government definitions are concerned.
Sure.
So what I'm really trying to understand is that with the budget coming up in the next couple of months, what would you like to see from the government for your industry? They already have announced easy financing, say, for entrepreneurs under Digital India.
Sure.
But how much of that perhaps is accessible to businesses like yours that are in very niche industries?
Sure. Not so much of the funding, because for us, pretty much the funding is
Sure.
For good businesses out there with good path to profitability. I think there's enough funding which is available, and there's a lot of capital that is supposed to get into India. But where I think slowly and gradually we'll require a lot of help from the government is with respect to how different new industries are coming up and segregating them and possibly bucketizing them into and giving them proper names. Right now everything is e-commerce,
yeah.
but but a ride-hailing app and possibly a venture like us or an e-commerce are very, very different. I mean, we typically come somewhere in the fintech or the subscription commerce,
sure.
somewhere closely interlinked around there. As a matter of fact, we take a similar risk of an EMI because we are giving you a 90,000 rupees phone or a 50,000 rupees bunch of chairs and sofas, but it's not considered a loan. If somebody defaults, we're not able to impact the CIBIL back. So some things, these are some of the things that we are also working with the government to possibly define all these aspects or salient aspects of the business a lot more better. But I'm not going to blame them because the industries are small. These are new industries which are creating it. It'll take time for them to take notice and start working towards them. The only thing is somebody should be there speaking their language and working with them, and that's what we are intending to do.
I wish you all the best, Geetansh.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you.